In warfare, there are many weapons that can give a military unit the advantage. But few weapons are as effective on a psychological scale as a good sniper. A sniper is a marksman who engages targets from positions of concealment or at distances exceeding the target's detection capabilities. Snipers generally have specialized training and are equipped with high-precision rifles and high-magnification optics, and also serve as scouts, observers, feeding tactical information back to their units or command headquarters. In addition to long-range and high-grade marksmanship, military snipers are trained in a variety of specialized skills and operational techniques such as detection, stalking, target range estimation, camouflage, tracking, bushcraft, fieldcraft, infiltration, special reconnaissance and observation, surveillance, and target acquisition. Also, one of the skills is calling for indirect fire when required. Snipers are a different breed of soldier. The training is considerable. They are considered heroes by some, yet reviled by others. The training and discipline notwithstanding, it takes a certain inherent skill set to create a great sniper. Who was Simo Häyhä? How did he get his name, White Death? Why are his methods used so controversial and usually not followed by other snipers later on?
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, a veteran of the United States Army and Marine Corps, former history professor, book author, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History.
Simo Häyhä was born on 17 December 1905 in the village of Kiskinen in the Rautjärvi district in the Viipuri province of Finland, and he was the seventh of 8 children. He served his compulsory military service and attended sniper training in 1938, achieving great results. According to Major Tapio Saarelainen, who had met Häyhä several times and wrote his biography, Häyhä was able to estimate distances with an accuracy of up to 3 feet at 500 yards, and Saarelainen notes that during his Civil Guard training, Häyhä once hit a target 16 times from 150 meters away in just 1 minute. To quote him, he stated, "This was an unbelievable accomplishment with a bolt-action rifle, considering that each cartridge had to be manually fed with a fixed magazine that held together 5 cartridges." When Joseph Stalin invaded Finland in November 1939, he sent 500,000 mostly inexperienced and unprepared soldiers into what he thought would be an easy reacquisition of the former Russian Empire territory of Finland and bring it into the Soviet sphere. He had another 250,000 soldiers in reserve, so he felt confident. But the Finns had all the advantages. They had a small but well-trained army, well suited to the extreme Arctic conditions. They had expert ski commandos and were not reliant upon mechanical vehicles to move men and supplies. The Finns employed the use of reindeer power for the most part, which did not break down due to the cold and did not run out of fuel and could cover frozen and snowy terrain. However, they had only a fraction of the artillery as the Soviets did. They had few aircraft and they had very few tanks. But they were defending home soil. The Soviets had almost 6,000 tanks and over 3,000 aircraft. The Finns knew the hilltops, mountains, rivers, valleys, and they dominated all avenues of approach. They controlled the few roads by ambush and pre-aimed artillery on those coordinates. But some of their greatest assets were their snipers, and Simo Häyhä was the best. But Simo's methods of sniping ran counter to the accepted doctrine. His small stature, standing only 5 feet 3 inches tall, made him hard to see in his white camouflage. What was it about his methods that made him different? Well, for one, snipers rarely fired from the same position more than once, to avoid giving away their position, often relocating to an alternate or even supplementary position. This was done to avoid being located and targeted, usually by indirect fire or enemy snipers. But Simo would often be in a target-rich environment, and he knew that if he could draw more enemy into coming to get him, the more kills he could get. In addition, if Simo did relocate, he did so to draw the enemy into his support infantry, who could then finish off the rest. Machine gunners were usually positioned on his flanks to handle the expected enemy soldiers who guessed his location after losing a few of their comrades. All snipers are trained like hunters. In the art of tracking and stalking, snipers like American Carlos Hathcock with 93 confirmed kills, Germany's Matthias Hetzenauer with 245 kills, and the Soviet Union's Lyudmila Pavlichenko with 309 kills and Vasily Zaitsev with 240 kills were all expert trackers and stalkers who often covered a lot of ground over long periods of time to get their kills. For example, Hetzenauer once stalked a Russian sniper covering more than 20 square miles for 12 days to get his kill. Simo was almost strictly an ambush predator, operating from a fixed location, like American sniper Chris Kyle. He preferred setting up his various hides at locations in Overwatch, where Soviet troops would most likely enter. He received communication and scouting reports on enemy movement, so he would go to the area that had the most activity. As a result of his nation fighting a defensive war, he rarely saw the need to stalk or venture far beyond his defensive perimeter. Another thing that made Simo different was he refused to use a telescope on his rifle. He preferred to use the open sights on his favorite rifle, the Finnish-made version of the Russian Mosin Nagant bolt-action, chambered in the Finnish-designed Mosin Nagant cartridge 7.62 by 53R, an early series Seiko M2830 serial number 35281 with a civil guard number of S60974. His refusal to use optics, unlike the vast majority of snipers, was due to his belief that the sun's glare may give away his position before he could fire. He also disliked the optics because it required a sniper to raise his head slightly higher over the upper receiver, risking exposure, and the fact that lenses can fog up or get iced over in freezing temperatures or get damaged, becoming useless. He preferred to work alone rather than with an observer, since having a spotter added to the risk of detection, but it also reduced the ability to confirm kills. He supplied himself with a day's worth of food, sugar, and other substances, several bandoliers of ammunition, and then snuck quietly through the woods. He also selected his own bullets, preferring hollow point rounds when he could get them using smokeless powder, but a good solid ball round would do just fine. Once he found a spot with good visibility, he would lie in wait for the Red Army to stumble across his path. He also built up snow mounds around his position to further obscure him, often under tree branches heavy with snow. He would place snow in his mouth and let it melt, so as to not have his breath expel and create a cloud to give away his position. One of his methods of getting successive kills from a single position was to wound one or two Russians, and then wait for their friends to come collect them, and then take them back to an aid station. While he operated in the Kola Peninsula under the famed Lieutenant Arne Juutalainen in the 6th Company of Infantry Regiment 34, this tactic eventually forced the enemy to leave their wounded and dead where they fell, rather than take even more casualties trying to recover them. This was where he obtained the nickname White Death, although it is unclear where the name originated. He was feared because he could never be seen, and Stalin even placed a 100,000 ruble bounty on him once his name was known, and this tended to make a lot of Red Army soldiers act recklessly to collect it. Finnish propaganda ran with the story of White Death, or as the Finns sometimes called him, the White Ghost, and he was also nicknamed the Magic Shooter, and their newspapers touted his skills and taunted the Russians. They even published versions in Russian to increase the humiliation. However, Simo's luck ran out on 6 March 1940, only 11 days before the Winter War ended with a peace treaty, when a Russian sniper managed to finally locate him, placing an explosive round into his head, shattering his jaw. The bullet had removed his upper jaw, most of his lower jaw, and most of his left cheek. He was evacuated to a hospital and remained in a coma for 11 days and woke up to learn that the war was over. Newspapers in both Finland and the Soviet Union posted his obituary, which Simo read while recovering. He spent 14 months recovering from his wounds and endured 26 surgeries. His military career was over. No sniper in history was as effective as Finland's Simo Häyhä, whose 505 confirmed kills in just over 100 days may never be broken. His personal record, to include those unconfirmed kills, numbered over 600 by various methods, and there is no reason to doubt his logbook. After the war, researchers believed that another 40 kills were also Simo's that could not be confirmed at the time of the engagements, such as the wounded men who later died and were recovered by the Finns and buried. In December 2001, shortly before his 96th birthday, Hayha opened up about his war experiences. During an interview with the tabloid Helsingin Sanomat, he was asked if he felt remorse for having killed so many people. He replied, "I did what I was told to do, as well as I could. There would be no Finland unless everyone else had done the same." In his later years, Simo Häyhä suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder and had frightening nightmares, but he continued doing what he could for his country. He taught sniping skills to the military and then later became a big game hunter who led expeditions for tourists, and his hunting parties over the years included some great celebrities, even the President of Finland, Urho Kekkonen. For years after the war, Simo received death threats from those who felt that he was a murderer. Some apparently came not from just Soviet citizens, but even fellow Finns who had communist sympathies. A lifelong bachelor whose friends said he hated being lonely. He still never married, but he had his reindeer farm and dog breeding business, gifts from a grateful government and people. But as he got older, the farm work became too difficult, so he rented out the farm and moved into a more comfortable apartment where he lived until entering an assisted living facility. Simo Häyhä lived to be 96 years old and died in the country he loved, fought for, and nearly died for on 1 April 2002.
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please click like, subscribe, and share. Send us comments and show ideas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time.